This is Smithy.tv.
Hey, this is Kenny Robinson. Thanks for tuning in. This is Breaking Down the News. My guest today is a stand-up veteran of the wars and multi-award winner writer Chris Finn. What's up, Chris?
How are you? Good to see you again.
I'm doing good, man, and I'm glad that you're living here back in Canada. You were away stateside for a bit.
Oh, long time ago, but I've been in Canada a long time. Yeah.
So
back a long time.
It's almost like you pulled your tour of duty overseas.
Kind of. It's a good way to look at it. I like the name Breaking Down the News, by the way. I kind of like it's got a kind of retro 80s.
Well, I was feeling it was more like somebody said the other day it was something like a PBS thing.
Breaking Down the News.
Yes.
Who is that? The guy who plays piano and makes up songs, like the whitest man in the world, remember?
I'm trying to remember. The guy he used to have the PBS thing. And
Yeah.
He looked like David Feldman.
Yeah, Tom. Anyway.
Tom Lear or something like that?
No, that was a record guy.
Yeah.
Mark Russell.
Yes, is he still alive?
I have no idea.
Well,
every song was the same.
He's no longer in fashion now. I
No,
guess
I
he's
don't
probably
know.
still playing for political swells, cocktail parties, getting that 20 grand a gig kind of thing.
It's
Huh?
probably Washington old timers, perhaps something like that.
You know, and they said we have no idea that he was a closet liberal all these years.
Maybe.
So
Yeah.
anyway, what I want to talk about today is our military. Canada has had a history throughout the years of being peacekeepers, but I don't even know if that's legitimate. I mean, when we had to go to World War I, we were definitely cannon fodder. The Brits just, sent our lads out there. Then World War II, we were probably the best trained soldiers on the Allied side. And, we definitely kicked ass, took names, paid the price.
Yes.
And
60,000 some odd deaths.
In Korea, we weren't holding anybody's coat while the fight was going on. We got our noses bloodied, and we gave some and took some.
I think Korea was the beginning of what they call police action now, which is, I think that's where it started to morph around then, where they like to say any phrase, but we're at war.
Yeah.
Usually the Harperites don't even do that. It's like, it's an intervention. It's we're joining.
Well, police action is because even Vietnam was not even declared a war. It was never an official declared war.
It's war when there's man and machine and there are enemy lines. It's war.
And when their son's not coming home, it's a war.
This is Canada's in a dire place. It's very depressing.
So here's the
We're
thing.
really kicking it off with great comedy here.
Well,
this is depressing.
Well, we'll find some jokes and some attitude, and and hopefully there's
I'm genuinely worried for the country.
There's old bitter people sitting at home, old our age, and they go, "Goddamn right, we shouldn't be involved." But anyway, Harper now.
What's frightening to me is that the country, the sea change, the shift, that there's just as many people going, they're sucked in by this selling of the war to us as ISIS are horrible people, but it's not like Saudi Arabia, our ally, don't behead 30 people a month for sorcery.
But we like them. We like the Saudis for some reason.
So much so we're selling them ATV or military craft, which could end up in the hands of ISIS, as far as we know.
Everything's going to wind up in the hand of ISIS. There's more Toyota trucks driven by these guys than in Japan.
It's the military pickup sticks. It's what the U.S. left over there. It's unbelievable.
Oh,
it's pretty much their arsenal.
It costs more money to bring it home.
Well, this is all part of the Harper nightmare, is that he's really lost in this. Anyone who would send a letter to George W. Bush apologizing on behalf of Canadians, what Canadians I don't know, for not going into Iraq in 2003, 2004.
Kretchen kept us out of there, man. He was a magician.
Greatest thing that any prime minister has done in my lifetime.
As quiet as it's kept. I mean, we laugh at him, we mock him.
Never did.
But a lot of folks did. In the mouth and the accent was always good for a gig.
I know, I didn't mock him a lot, but we were working tough clubs. But I mean, right now it's like it's just really, really frightening that anybody is buying this line that we need to be there. This is ISIS's greatest gift, that anyone's taking them seriously.
And it's wonderful that, they do some great shit to make you want to hate them.
Oh, well, sure.
We're going to behead puppies now, not puppies.
But if they think that, but on the other hand, if they think North Americans aren't going to get numb to that, they're crazy.
Well, that's why they go.
Span of lint.
That's why they go and put a guy in a cage and set him on fire and go, just in case you were bored of us then.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've been chopping heads off for weeks before that, But
Lots of countries do. Lots of countries do.
And I always thought, well, dead is dead. Doesn't matter if the guy's shot or matter if its head is. But we have something about decapitation in our society that just makes anybody that uses that as a method of killing the enemy or execution the worst people in the world.
I would imagine, actually, I would imagine it's not the most gruesome way to go at all. Like the poor Jordanian pilot was probably a lot more painful.
Oh, he's probably hoping for a cut. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's like the machine is feeding itself. Like, why are we broadcasting? I mean, if you go to a hockey game or a Major League Baseball game and some jagoff runs on the field, they don't even film that. They won't show it on television.
And I think that's a shame.
But like, why are we giving ISIS this?
Well, most of this.
I mean, other than to sell the
most
war.
of this stuff is on the internet anyway. So even if they decided they weren't going to show it, which the networks don't.
ISIS is not a country. They're treating it.
There
like
is
a
no country. There is no country called ISIS.
I know, but like, so why are we? That's what I can't figure out. Is like, this whole they've declared war on us. Well, why are you giving them the?
It's
Why are you
saying
giving
the
them
mob declared war on
You're
us.
giving them like Hell's Angels have declared war on us. Like you're giving them country status. It's in order to sell this idea that we need to be there.
I think we bought into it way before this, though.
With Afghanistan, you mean?
Afghanistan, ISIS, the whole thing. For 15 years now, our kids, okay, before 9/11, certainly after 9/11, our kids, children, you go to any playground, you'll see the kids wearing camouflage.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
remember when my kid was grade 1, he had camouflage, everybody had camouflage, and I took the kids to school.
San Diego Padres have a uniform that's camouflage.
Well, because they got military bases there, so of
Sure
course
they
they're
do.
saluting their troops. But I'm thinking, like, damn, man, you can go to Zellers and buy camel. I said, they have sold us into the habit of seeing our kids in military uniforms.
Well, G.I. Joe, we go back even further.
Well,
I can
every
remember.
kid loves war toys and stuff. All the war.
Well,
They cooled off during when the Vietnam War became unpopular. G.I.
Sure.
Joe disappeared. Then he became
Sure.
Action Man,
Maybe.
and
He
had all
was-
those.
He was GI prisoner then, wasn't he? They came out with a bunch of Hanoi.
Well, what they did was they started making GI Joes of the world, so you just start to collect the uniforms and
Right.
and what have you, which took it away from I didn't have a rich daddy to get him out of the draft, so he's over here in Nam now.
So, like, the accessories would have been like a briefcase full of 20s from your old man to get you from going.
A knapsack that got you from Boston to Montreal.
That's right. And a fake beard. Yeah, exactly.
and,
Train ticket.
And you get all you get all these kids. Yes, I'm from Montreal. You can believe that.
Exactly. Or the accessories instead of another commando, it's like a lawyer doll that the guy would have to get out of the. I think it's even more insidious that since you're kids, they whether it's toy soldiers or toy guns.
But we got them in uniforms, and you know what really spooked me? I noticed some of the kids, some of the kids were of new immigrant status in Canada, new citizens. And some of the kids had different camouflage uniforms than some of the other ones. Like, I could tell, hey, them got sent from over there. Those aren't the shades we use.
Those are the real one. That's a working AK-47. Oh my God!
So I told my kid, I says, you got to watch out for some of these classmates. If anybody leaves a lunchbox unattended on the playground,
phone the police.
you finger that kid.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want it to happen. You don't want that bomb going off on your monkey bars. You can never make your children too fearful, paranoid, or suspicious of each other, is what I say.
That's a good thing to instill. I don't have kids, but I'm going to take your word for it.
Or you can adopt children to raise them to be that way.
I think all my friends' kids, I'm just going to be incredibly suspicious and around them, just because the parents won't be.
Just go, do you know that is really Billy's father, or it's just his uncle that gave him a ride? So anyway, here's something else. So now there's a whole thing, because it looks like we're going to be getting more involved into Iraq.
Well, it's a majority government, so liberals and the NDP can all vote no, which they will, but it doesn't matter. It's a majority government, so I love how they're going to have the debate anyway. I don't think you'll see a lot of, it doesn't matter. It's going through. They're going to expand the mission.
And Trudeau has voted against the mission, but he's in favor of C-51.
C-51 he's really a classic awkward panderer. I think it was a mistake on his part to support it in the first place. You got to hand it to Mulcair. He's been anti-C-51, anti-war, hasn't shifted his opinion or the opinion of his party. And Trudeau is just like, meandering through this day to day with no platform.
He's not his daddy's son.
He's not. Well, I think he's just finding his footing. The left have to get together. Otherwise, we're looking at probably another majority. That's the downside.
Well, we're split.
Yeah.
The left is totally split.
And they don't like each other, Mulcair and Trudeau. I don't think we're going to see a Liberal Democrat Party this time around. And the best case scenario is Harper minority. I think that's the best we can hope for. The left have to unite, or center and left have to unite, and we wouldn't have to deal with these. First of all, they're not the Conservative Party. I wish people would stop saying that. They're the Reform Party of Alberta. That is
really
who is in
reformed.
charge. Yeah, they're not the Conservative Party. I mean, Mulroney looks like Lincoln compared to Stephen Harper. Like, Joe Clark, if he's I'd vote for him now. Like,
he'd be considered too much of a moderate.
Probably, yeah. So, and you got to feel sort of bad, not really bad, but for some of the ministers who've been with Harper since day one, like McKay and stuff, these guys who have or had prime ministerial, hopes, they're just going to more and more sullied and more damaged, like the wall of...
But do you believe the right in Canada is strong enough to continue to support these guys, though?
Yes, I do. Well, hopefully it'll collapse in on itself. Hopefully Harper will keep talking and keep.
But is anybody listening besides the left? I mean, because it seems that people that are all in favor of him,
Well, I think you're seeing now that there are Conservatives within his own cabinet are speaking out. Some have left. I can't remember his name exactly, but there's a backbencher who's publicly talking about how disillusioned he is with his own party because of C-51. He's a Western Tory too. I don't think enough to do a lot of damage, but I think if he continues to so blatantly try and turn rural against urban, and the wedge politics and all this anti-Muslim stuff and politics of fear, he's got people afraid of headscarves. Then I think that could collapse on him because,
Yeah, Klanshood is a headscarf technically, so, but it's always good to make a boogeyman out of somebody. But,
yeah, I think, politically, I'd like to see the country start respecting each other again. Like, I'm an old lefty, but I don't think that, that the roots of the right in this country are stupid. I'm just disappointed that they're buying this Walmart style of politics. You remember a time in this country when a prime minister had to be an intellectual? You had to
Well, there's been in North America, there's been a whole anti-intellectual
right, and it
movement in the last 20, 25 years.
Culminated in Canada with Ignatieff, who, reads a dozen books before noon. And he was just pilloried. He was like,
too smart for the rest of us.
Pelted with lunches in the playground. There's a day when he would have been, I'm not saying he would have been a great prime minister, but
we wouldn't have been ashamed, or we wouldn't have felt like it was something dirty to say, I like this guy.
I think that Canada's place on the world stage, which used to be very important to Canadians, would have been restored. And now I'm very worried about that.
Some people think our status has risen since we're getting more bloodied now,
Well, our status has risen within the arms community in the United States.
Yeah.
Europeans aren't any more impressed with us. I don't think that. I think that's mainly because of Kyoto and our environmental.
And once upon a time, when Canadian ambassadors could sneak a bunch of Americans out of the country, where I'm pretty sure our name is pretty much becoming mud in that whole Middle East.
Yeah, well, there's that, and Argo was, was a great piece of fiction for the most part. But it was a great movie. I liked it. Of course, the Canadian aspect was downplayed in it. But that goes back to where was the Canadian movie? I know they made one in the early '80s and it wasn't very good. But where's our film industry telling our stories?
Well, that was supposed to be CBC's agenda, isn't it?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I know they can't do every Canadian story, but that's a pretty big one.
Because they haven't done Don Cherry the early years.
Right, exactly.
Back when he only wore turtlenecks and didn't have a high collar shirt.
Exactly.
Okay, one more thing before we got to get out of here, though. Something I just found out was, along with the new security that they're passing. Do you know that every form of protest is being monitored by the government? It doesn't matter if it's veterans complaining about, having something taken care of, if it's the fishermen complaining about whatever whatever restrictions or lack of restrictions are being placed. If you're protesting anything now, the government's got a special file for you. Now, was that always the case, you think, or you think that's just more go along with what Harper's doing?
I think Harper wants this as a reason to control. I think their biggest thing is I don't think they care about people protesting various things, this, that, and the other. I think the scariest thing about C-51 to me is the clause that says, I think it's the ability to monitor and or break up protests that directly affect the economy. That to me is really scary because that means an oil pipeline protest.
Yep.
They can
affects
easily
the economy.
They can send guys in with pepper spray and jail you. Like we could have a G20 every week in this country. Well, and the Harbor is terrified of oil not regaining its status because all his eggs are in that basket.
I have a terrible confession to make.
What's that?
During the G20 we had here in Toronto,
yeah,
because with the area they were protesting in and everything, I knew it would affect my turnout for the Nubian show at Yuck Yucks.
Right.
And I wanted them to go and clean up that whole fucking turf.
Well,
I wanted them corralled. I wanted them left in the rain for hours. Damn it, you messing with my cover charge, bitches. And nobody even could tell me we were arguing about this thing or about one thing. Yeah, and then when I saw the anarchists, I says, you know where the anarchists are? They're at the comedy club spouting off. Never mind breaking of windows. When they start messing with my income so I could almost get suckered, let one more protest screw up one more time, one Sunday a month where I got some money on the table to collect.
Fair enough.
And the Harperites could recruit me easy. All they got to do is get my simple need to pay the rent.
You're obviously a concerned citizen.
I'm concerned about not paying that child support. That's what I'm concerned about.
If they were messing with your income, I certainly understand. There's a dispensation morally for that. You don't have to toe the line on that. That's funny.
And the idea of oil, well, I needed that income so I could pay for heating oil back then.
Sure. That wasn't particularly. It kills me that it's never been much of an apology of any kind. And the most they sort of said is, yeah, maybe we overreacted, which sounds like, getting some brother-in-law to admit he was drunk at a wedding when he knocked over the
worst thing was when people were complaining about how they were all roped in and they were brought into this holding area.
Yeah, like a pin.
It's where they kept the extras. They took them into the unused TV studios, and I said, you were treated like extras. No food, no water for 8 hours.
No, most extras get a meal. Most extras get a meal. Come on now.
Well, if they had stayed another 2 hours, they would have had they would have had the meal.
If they had given the G20 victims at least one extra credit, so they could get closer to becoming members, then maybe.
But I was standing on top of this car. Does that make me qualified for a stunt action?
Yeah, no, that's silent on camera. No, that's sorry. You're not really moving. You're just near flame. So sorry, no, you don't get the.
Oh, man, too much good time here. Anyway, folks, you've been listening to Breaking Down the News. This is Chris Finn. My special guest, I'm Kenny Robinson. And this episode's done, but we're going to be talking some more mess about some more mess that is this world we live in. Thanks for checking us out.